Adjustments tonight?
No.
Nope.
None? All right, moving forward. We're going to open it up for public input. I don't see any members of the public, but if they do show up while we are still in session, we will of course entertain their commentary. At this time, we're going to move into our discussion about the appointment of a treasurer for the SAU.
Yes, as the board knows, we appointed a temporary treasurer while we were in search of a permanent person. That person has come forward in Christine Bumpus. Christine Bumpus is a longtime former co-op employee. She served as the senior secretary for many years, the registrar, as well as a host of other duties. She understands our accounting system very well, has worked through the budget process for many years, and is very familiar with our business office. So we're asking that the SAU board appoint Christine Bumpus to the position of treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Corey. Any discussion? All right, we'll move into deliberations to see what action the board will take in appointing the SAU treasurer. Can I get a motion?
Motion made. Second.
All right. And that was to appoint Christine Bumpus as the treasurer for the School Administrative Unit 41. That was seconded by Amy Kellner, and it was you, Andrea, that did it? Okay. Thank you. Any discussion further? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Do we need a non-public this evening?
We do not. We have no other business tonight.
Easy peasy. And we did not have any public show up for the meeting tonight, so we will declare the public input closed at 6:04. And at this time, I will take a non-debatable motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. Greatly appreciated.
Fastest meeting ever. Congratulations. Oh, I'm not.
I will call us to order at 6:06. Do we have any agenda adjustments from anyone?
I have, under discussion, items 2 and 3 are the same. They were just labeled two different things, but it's the same discussion, elections in the schools and town elections, so we just combine those.
Okay,
That's all I have for the administration's end.
great. Anyone else? Okay. We will move to approval of minutes. Actually, no, we won't. Any correspondence, resignations, retirements, or nominations tonight?
I have one resignation. Lauren Milia from the CSDA has accepted a position in another district. She provided her notice. She will be starting the year with us until we can find an appropriate replacement. We have interviewed 2 candidates and will be extending an offer in the very near future. And then under correspondence, last meeting I had provided that the state adequacy money would be being reviewed and we would find our new dollar amount. That total additional funds was only $27,000. As a result of that, I wouldn't be recommending a special meeting of that. I would let it fall to the bottom of the budget and offset next year's tax rate, because bringing people out and the cost of a special meeting and the advertisement and everything that's required, I think it's better off, and I'll most likely be making the same recommendations to our 2 other districts as well. So that's it for nominations, resignations, and correspondence.
What was the amount, Andrew?
$27,000?
What did we originally expect?
Well,
Not more
there had
than
been a
that,
lot of discussion in the papers about $300 or $400 more per student.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you did the simple math, it's a much larger number than that. But when they look at the formula, they impacted many different elements of the formula. So, like free and reduce would bring you in more money. That's not a category we have a lot of. Third graders reading below grade level, you would get an extra amount of money to assist them so they could make grade level. Again, we don't have a lot of those issues. So that's why our total came out to $27,000. I do want to thank Kelly and Gina for assisting me in monitoring that. We had hoped for more, but once again, it just didn't come our way.
Okay. And for Lauren Milia, do we have an effective resignation date for her?
She will be with us until September 8th.
Okay. All right. So I will make a motion then to accept the resignation of...
It's already done because
We gave him.
my authority to hire and accept would end
Okay.
in September.
So we don't need to worry about that.
That's correct. That was
Very good.
more of an informational, my apologies.
Thank you. Nope, understood. Okay. So then we are going to move down to approval of minutes. We'll start with July 26th, Brookline School Board meeting. Bear with me because we have several. Page 3, line 46, underway should be a single word. Page 3, line 46, insert that following commented. Page 4, line 11, delete themselves and replace all of with all. Page 4, line 15, start the sentence with the. Page 5, line 4, delete also. Page 5, line 14, delete the before academic. Page 5, line 21, replace made a decision with decided. Page 5, line 22, insert it is before her. Page 5, line 22, replace what is being found is with that. Page 5, line 23, replace some sort of with a. Page 5, line 34, delete the before choose love. Page 6, line 12, insert and following kids. Page 6, line 25, replace with by. Page 6, line 32, replace have with had. Page 6, line 36, insert the before child. Page 7, line 22, correct the spelling of with. Page 7, line 33, insert the before policies. Page 7, line 33, insert the before policies. That's the same thing. Page 8, line 8, delete really with subjective. Page 8, line 46, insert which before would. Page 9, line 1, insert in after be. Page 13, line 12, insert the before mention. Page 13, line 14, replace includes with including. Page 13, line 33, replace in regard to with regarding. Page 13, line 38, replace has to with must. I will make a motion to accept as amended. Second from, was that you, Kelly? Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, passes 4-0. All right. With that, we'll move to public input. So I'm going to open public input at 6:11. We have no public at the moment, so we will move on to our principal's report.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, we have a review of the enrollment history, and right now, as of August 16th, our projected enrollment for this year is 579 students between the two buildings. And let's see. For our summer building project updates, for, do you want to talk to, well, I'll do CSDA first, sorry. We've had some space transformations due to enrollment and programming changes. So we've had to make some changes as far as in the library. We've taken a portion of it and used a temporary wall system to have the teacher's workroom as far as copy machines, because the area that was present, or previously the workroom, we've had to use for office space for our new special ed administrator. And we've also taken over a previous grade 4 classroom, and we've refurbished that for the new STEP program that we're utilizing for CSDA for the first year. We've also refinished the gym flooring. We finished the new flooring in the special education 3 classrooms. We had the replacement of 3 classroom doors. These are the exterior doors that had been rusting, and actually the tentative date was to start on the 28th, but they actually finished today. So that's been completed. So that's 6 doors that we've been able to complete over the past 2 years. We've cleaned, the custodial staff has cleaned and waxed all of the floors and hallways throughout the building, just in time for our grade 4 touring tomorrow. We've also replaced the LED lights out in the parking lots. I haven't been able to observe them yet. It's still been daylight when I've seen them first pop on. And the other thing is that new this year is the CSDA staff will be receiving Chrome laptops to use with the new flat panels. So each of the classrooms will be fitted, they're going up today and tomorrow, with the new flat panels. So the teachers will be really excited to see those in action.
Good evening. And then at RMS, we also had some space transformations. Our beautiful renovation project in our lower level was timely because we've had to relocate our staff room to the staff room downstairs in this lower level because we are moving our special ed space, which is where the server was, to make room for our reading and math lab. Our special ed space that was in the server room is now in our upstairs staff room that used to be. And then the reading and math room that moved is now the new kindergarten classroom. So those are the 3 moves we made there. And then over the summer, we've replaced our mulch. We've continued that cycle to replenish the playground mulch. We've painted some rooms. Rich Raymond's done a fantastic job of relocating the server and then also rewiring and recabling certain rooms to accommodate that change. We've also moved some projectors around to certain rooms to accommodate the flat panels that we've received. We added a stairwell security camera to increase our supervision. We've cleaned and liquid stripped many of our classrooms and all of our hallways. And we have an Eagle Scout, Mark Robinson, who is going to be building a sandbox on our playground and is staked out at the top part of our playground. So we're excited about that project. Instead of having our students dig holes all over the playground, we have one central location. And then today was the second day of the new staff orientation. So that was really well done this year, and staff returned to their buildings for a lunch and then had time in their classrooms to get settled in their classrooms for the first time to the district. Tomorrow we have new family orientation at both buildings. CSDA has theirs in the morning, and also it's for all incoming 4th graders. RMS has their hours in the afternoon, and then our staff returns Monday. And we also have kindergarten open house next week. And first day of school is the 31st. And then open house, September 12th is CSDA's and September 13th is RMS open house. And then in terms of staffing at RMS, we're still looking to hire a full-time custodian. We were making some great progress in Paris, but we still need 5. We would hire one, and then they find a job somewhere else. Add another one, found another offer somewhere else, so we're still at 5. We also need a speech pathologist, and we're also looking for a half-day preschool teacher. But as of right now, we're able to have 2 sections of preschool, an AM and a PM. But with the incoming of referrals, most likely we're gonna need another morning section teacher.
Yeah, and the same thing goes with CSDA. We're still down 1 custodian, and the same problem that we're having with paraeducators. So if anybody knows anyone that wants to work, we can be very flexible. Please reach out to us. And we are also still in the need of a part-time or half-time speech pathologist.
That's all set.
Oh,
That's all set for the maternity
Okay,
leave.
never mind, we're all set for that, so, perfect, thank you. But actually, I just want to give a shout out to Gina and all of her staff, or all of the staff that volunteered to be part of the new orientation. Since we've had new staff come on board, I met with them several times today and had lunch with them, and they thought the orientation was wonderful, so thank you very much.
And then just one more shout out, we're doing shout outs just to our custodial staff at both buildings. They worked hard to get our buildings ready for the upcoming year. A lot of extra hard work, cleaning the rooms, waxing floors, helping with new deliveries and equipment, so they worked hard.
So, thank you. I'm looking at the org chart type handout. So Lauren Milia, reading specialist, and then it looks like a speech pathologist are the only 2 openings that we'll have going into the school year, or did you just say?
Paraeducators, we have openings for paraeducators as well.
9.
So this is just professional staff.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking, yeah, okay, thanks. Well, I think we're saying
And
the
the
same
other thing
thing.
we don't
yeah.
add on here is like purchase size grant for the preschool teacher. That we were looking to contract that out because we were trying to find the right person for that, but we're still looking for that, so that's
Okay.
why that's not listed. But this just shows all teachers, unified arts, but not paras.
Great.
Where
Or
are we
custodial staff.
advertising for paras? What are we doing? I mean, are we re-upping the posts every
Yes.
week? Are we
Yes.
doing all of that?
Yes.
And what's the plan for the 9 missing paras that?
So we are being incredibly resourceful with our resources, and we are putting things together as creatively as possible. We still have a few more interviews to go now. We're working with different agencies, we're working with the different postings, with Indeed, with our own application process, and we're doing everything we can do, but we're being very creative, and people are stepping up as much as possible to fill in every minute.
Did we get anybody over the summer? Because I thought we
Yes.
ended with did we end with 11 or something missing, and now we have 9?
I believe we
What
were
was-
at 11 openings. We also there were some also move-ins and such that also affected para-educator need numbers. So I believe we ended with 11. I think right now we're at 5 at RMS, and we're down 3 to 4 at CSDA.
And
Some of it's program related too, so.
Right, and we did have several individuals that said yes.
And we also had 1 leave
Turned
over
away.
the summer.
Yep.
Like as of last week, we needed 3, now we're at 5. So
Right, because
Okay.
people left or took other jobs.
But we're making phone calls to people to.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
I know it's
oh,
not
and
easy.
I
I just worry about
right,
the
I also
running
call
of the
everyone
school.
on the sub list. We
Yep.
make calls, just.
It might have to be an agency thing.
We've
I mean,
been
it's
working
very
through
expensive.
multiple agencies,
Okay.
and everyone is having difficulty recruiting for both speech pathologists and paraeducators. So, but I'm working with about 6 agencies right now
Okay.
for both positions. And there's the speech pathologist pool and the paraeducator pool are very, very slim.
Can we use the schools to help with paraeducation, the kids that are learning to, going to school for teaching? Are we allowed to do that? You're shaking your head no? They can't, don't they?
Oh, there's no.
Level of student.
I'm talking about college students that, they go out and do teacher, instead of doing student teaching and all that, can we
So
create a
what we're doing
program?
instead of student teaching, if their schedule allows, absolutely, they can work courses. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of people
No.
in programs for education anymore,
Okay.
so they just don't exist.
Uh,
And
yeah.
there's certainly not a lot of local programs.
That's what I was wondering, is like,
Right.
can we find a program to partner with? And I know that it's not gonna solve all 9, but maybe that's a long-term thing too. I know for where I work, we partner with some technical schools too, and it took a while to get there, but the relationship was forged, and over time, it's helped. So just thinking out loud a little bit. Okay. Thank you for that. And it sounds like everything's ready to rock for next week. Yeah? All right, and tomorrow.
We still have a few more days, right?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Ready to go.
All right, I think we're to town elections. Is that our next item? Yeah.
That's correct. The question I have for the board is, how do we want to approach the elections? Historically, we have always voted in the schools. The problem is the incidents of school violence have caused concern for families, and I didn't know if the board wanted to look at, we still don't have a date yet, really. We know it's going to be in January probably, but we don't have a date. Do we want to look at that as more of what I'll refer to as a snow day? Once we have that date, we look at it as a snow day and that we wouldn't be open from a safety and security point, because I really don't know where else the town could hold their election. The other piece would be, I have thought, what if we turned what I'll call the election around? So instead of coming in CSTA's front doors, you came in the back doors of the gym, and you were not allowed to exit into the school building. So that was just an option I looked at to try to put things out there. But there's really nothing we can do to stop the progression for lunches. Our classroom settings are away from the gym, but students come down in the morning for snack, and then students come down in the morning for lunches, and then they're going out to recess. So it's a very complex day, and I'm wide open. And again, I don't think it's a decision we need to make tonight, but I think once we finalize the date, we need to look at what we're going to do, and we'll do the same for more so the co-op schools, because I don't know if there'll be the request to vote in the schools. Sometimes they use Lawrence Bond. Hollis doesn't have elections in their schools because of the high school facility.
Andy, I guess, have we had any conversations at all with the select board in Brookline? Because I feel like the question is elections in the schools, question mark, but it seems like it's a foregone conclusion that they will be held in the schools and that the school and the school board has to make arrangements. Like, can we just say no?
I think we could. I will tell you that I think there's when the schools were built, like when they built CSDA, that was one of the pieces that they talked about in terms of being able to use the schools for voting. I think what's changed is just the potential of violence, which worries families. I have not connected with the town manager. We are scheduled to connect. He and I have been on opposite weeks for vacation, so I will be visiting him and we'll be discussing it. But I just wanted to get it out there and have this discussion with no action being taken tonight so that we can get more feedback. If this was a larger facility, we could segment it by the floor. That would make me have greater comfort.
Yeah, why can't this one work? I'm looking around and I feel like this is a better option than CSDA if we put a mat on the floor. We don't need a bowling alley to have people come in and vote. I don't know.
They utilize, I mean, I guess we could tie in with the town as far as the amount of space, but I have to be honest with you, the amount of space that the voting poll areas take up is pretty big, and I think it looks smaller because the gym is so large.
I totally appreciate that. I think the boards, I'm getting the sense, but tell me if I'm wrong, is like if we're gonna negotiate this, I think let's try to make it work here so it's segregated and not out in the open.
I apologize, Trish, if this isn't what you're saying, but I think that like behind the scenes, there's what you see, but then there's also like the poll workers and like other spaces that they use other than just where things are set up in the gymnasium. And again, speaking for myself as a board member, I would love for the town of Brookline to find a solution that doesn't make our schools, whether it's RMS or CSDA. I think the traffic at RMS is a nightmare and would be an absolute nightmare if you had voting going on here while school is in session with the buses. So I would not be in favor of that. And I think the least favorable solution would be what Superintendent Corey has suggested in terms of flipping it around so that people enter and exit through the gymnasium and don't ever enter the hallway. But again, I don't know if there's a requirement, if it's a polling place, that you have access to restrooms. In which case, there's no, I feel like we have been incredibly fortunate that there have not been any incidents on voting days. And I think that this upcoming primary cycle is going to be very contentious, and I think times have changed. I don't know what year CSDA was built in, I don't know what the population of Brookline was at that time, but I think it's certainly reasonable that the population and the demographics and the national and local political situation has changed since then.
I mean, isn't the town convention center like $800 to rent for the day? Something to that effect. I think I looked this up the last time we did this, and it was somewhere around there. I think we have the runway now.
I mean, I think it's not our problem to solve. I appreciate that you're coming up with alternative solutions,
Well,
but I think
it's going to go over really poorly if we just say no. So we're trying to come up with a solution that we can't just go to another board and say tough.
Would I be correct that you'd like me to go back to the town administrator? And
Yes.
meet with him and talk with him and bring this back here in September? Okay? I mean, we have historically in the past considered using a snow day because it doesn't affect the school year. We just add a day on at the end, but it wouldn't be a professional development day or anything. It would just be literally like a snow day, a day off that we would make
Yeah.
up. So it's an option. I'm not saying it's a good one, but I also don't know the date in January. You know, so that will give us another piece of data, hopefully, in the next 30 days. So with the board's permission, I will go back to the town administrator, I will meet with him, ask him to go to the select board and have a discussion with them as well, and let them know it's not that we're not willing to work, we're just very concerned about the safety of the students in the buildings.
Yep.
And if we can figure out a solution that, I'd be happy to bring it back. I'm not sure, I'll tell them I'm not sure the board will entertain it or not, but we will certainly give it due consideration.
Great.
Okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that at all? Okay. So we're next to our MTSS discussion. Are you
I was gonna
doing
go
that?
to
Yeah,
Dan.
okay.
One,
great.
Dan and Trish will jump
All
in
right.
too, but, so our staff has done incredible work over this summer, really kind of diving into the MTSS process as a whole. So we're entering this school year with a comprehensive process for MTSS to encompass both social, emotional, and academic needs within the school. So over the course of this year, it's going to be a year of continued development of the processes, taking clear data on our Tier 2 supports and interventions, and developing very kind of clear and structured classroom Tier 2, pull-out Tier 2, and Tier 3 interventions, both for social, emotional, and academic supports. The academic supports will also be diving into some executive functioning skills as developmentally appropriate across the grade levels. So entering this school year, we're looking at social, emotional, behavioral support, but looking at really starting from the building-wide perspective, looking at setting the expectations, both in public spaces within the school building, and having the students really understand what it means to function in the school building, and then within their grade level cohort, within their classroom, and to take that kind of ownership and civic responsibility within the scope of the school setting. So the teachers, have developed a plan for consistent morning meeting, kind of diving into the responsive classroom piece, and I'll let, Dan and Trish can jump in about what that framework is going to look like. We're going to be using our staff meetings and our early release days to really hone and research what will be best for SEL moving forward, with potentially bringing forward curriculum for next year. But really, we needed to kind of start out this year, and we didn't want to rush into jumping into kind of purchasing this big curriculum. We wanted to make sure that we're able to dive into this work a little bit further into the fall as well. And then from the academic perspective and lens, again, a lot of work has been done on our universal screening discussions. As many of you know, there's a dyslexia screener that is required now for K through 3. So how we're going to be handling that has to be done twice a year. And how we're using our universal screening tools to tap into the foundational skills that students need to have so that we're able to more clearly target them if students are falling behind for tier 2. And that, again, is going to be a work in progress as we gather more data and look at our core instruction as well as our interventions and services. So I don't know if Trish and Dan, you want to jump in more about the kind of social emotional piece with the responsive classroom and Tiger and those components?
Yeah, well, I can just talk about responsive classroom, and basically the backbone of that is the morning meeting. So at CSDA, for the first time, at least since I've been here, we've actually put in time. It's only 10 minutes right now, and as I, be telling the teachers, and I've told them via messages that initially, obviously, we'll probably be using some more time as we teach the students what is an actual morning meeting. And there's different facets of it, and part of it is just actually having a greeting by the teacher and by the classmates so that every student is addressed. It also gives an opportunity for the teachers to see how is every student doing as they walk in the door. And once they collaborate together in a circle or at their desk, to see, how is each child functioning this morning as they, came off the bus or, did something go awry. And they can usually tell that by maybe a student will share something. So there's also a component where students share, and usually that's, you might have like 3 or 4 students share something, something positive, but you also might hear that, something happened that's, if, for instance, if a student's pet passed away, a student might bring that up. But that's something that, again, we're going to be teaching all the students about empathy. And, how might that student be reacting? Maybe that student's going to have a tougher day today. But that's something that all of their community that we're building will be able to empathize and understand. We're also, then they also end the morning meeting with some type of activity. It could be a particular, a funny song or a joke or maybe giving an air high five to start the academic day. Or they might be setting a goal for that particular day. So that's something that we're going to, have it, it become systematic. And eventually what occurs in the classroom is that the students eventually will be running the morning meeting. They'll understand the process and they'll take ownership of those morning meetings. So it's really a wonderful thing, and it's something that I was really a big proponent of when I was in the classroom for over 15 years, and it's really effective for all of the students. And you can just see the development, the growth and development of the students socially and emotionally. And that's something that will be carried on not only just in the classrooms, but it'll also be carried on at the specials. So this year I'm going to be requesting and helping to train the specials, our unified arts teachers. I want them to be able to also utilize 10 minutes of their class time to do something similar. And because a lot of times when we're seeing behaviors, it might be in the unified arts. And for instance, children might be coming to PE class at the end of the day. Well, sometimes students are spent by the end of the day if they have gym maybe at the end of the day, the very last class. And a teacher may not have the opportunity to tell the receiving teacher, oh, you know what, this individual is having a tough day, but this way it will make sure that that teacher, receiving teacher, is able to find out how's everybody's day going? Is it going okay? If it's not, all right, maybe, what can we do, what can I do to help that child, continue to be successful in that period? And it's also something, we'll also do morning meetings when we do our monthly assemblies. So again, it's something that it's going to be a community development.
And in addition to what Trish shared, the work was exciting that happened over the summer. We had representatives from every grade level, so a teacher or as a specialist, part of a committee from both schools. And we also refined our student expectations for all aspects of the school. So we have posters being made up for the lunchroom of what the student expectations are. We have the classroom expectations that are going to be posted in every classroom. Posters in the bathrooms of bathroom behavior. And then also for assembly. So any type of aspect of the school we have a poster for. We're going to have assemblies to go over that with the student body and teachers. But it was really nice to see the group of teachers here this summer excited about the work and excited to implement this going forward. We also have Tiger coming. Tiger's from Plymouth State University. They're going to be doing a performance at RMS and CSDA at the end of September called Team Up Together. And then we've also subscribed to what they have is called Turbo Tiger. So there's about 64 lesson plans from K through 5. There's songs, poems, very popular right now. There's audio tracks, books that go along well with the Turbo Tiger. So we're going to start that this year and see how it goes for all of our classes. We're excited to have that implemented as well.
And actually, one more thing. For CSDA, we're bringing the Brown Center from UNH. If you recall, at the end of this year, the 6th grade went to the Brown Center at the University of New Hampshire, and they were able to do, it's basically building trust and between your peers and friendship and it's a lot of SEL attributes to it. So what we've decided to do is I'm actually having the group come to CSDA, and they're going to be meeting with each grade level separately on a day for about approximately 2 hours with their classroom teachers, and again, developing those trust, how do we create trust within our small community of classes or as a grade level, and how do we continue that for the year? And again, it will tie into our responsive classroom and to the MTSS behavior and social emotional program. And the goal is for next June for the 6th grade then to be able to go to UNH at the Brown Center there and do the climbing and the ropes and things like that.
And then we're going to continue the work with researching programs throughout the year for SEL as well.
Right, so just, I want to say, thank you as well. The staff put in hours and hours of work this summer, and I echo what Dan said, it is very exciting to see the investment and the progress. John and Meg have also been integral in this work this summer. Everyone really jumped in, kind of tackle the different components, because there are a lot of moving parts. So this year is really a building year. This MTSS process is going to be a 2 to 3 year at least process, and then evolve from there, right, as we look at the different interventions and resources that we wind up using. We will be back again to report on further SEL initiatives that the staff would like to pursue and look into for future years. But right now, there's an excellent starting point with the framework, the structure, the work that's been done to be rolled out for the first weeks of school.
I just want to say I appreciate all the work of the committee. It sounds like there was a lot done and that we're putting frameworks in place. And I just want to emphasize again, and I'll say it every time, is that when I hear potentially curriculum for next year, to me, it's just
I think I mean potential curriculums. Do you know what I mean? Like choosing a curriculum.
Right, yeah. But when I hear potentially for next year, I mean, we have a whole year and we're already talking about tier 2 and tier 3, which means budgetary, which means staffing, which means you've identified a problem and that you're trying to fix that problem, essentially, a social emotional issue. But we're not teaching the kids a curriculum yet. So it's like, okay, well, if we did math intervention only on tier 2, if we just identified the children who didn't know how to do math, but we never actually taught them math. And I understand, I definitely want to take a step back and say I really do appreciate all the work, but that having done a lot of research on this, and I feel like I understand this, that it's really crucial to have that tier 1 and to have staff buy-in for that tier 1. SEL is not something that is implemented once a week with a health teacher or a PE teacher. It's something that the whole staff has to buy into. And so as long as, and again, this might be overstepping management versus, but I just as a board member and a parent, I just want to say that it's crucial to have that tier 1. But I love all of this. This sounds like this Turbo Tiger might be, at least give some lessons. I don't know what it is. We now have a curriculum coordinator who's, I believe, tasked with not only academics but social emotional learning, who has a lot of experience with that. So I look forward to, maybe not in the next few years, I think tier 1 has to be the emphasis sooner than tier 2 and tier 3. Otherwise, we're chasing our tail, right? You wait till the behaviors happen, you wait till a student has issues, and then we're trying to teach them after they've already, I think we all agree on that, right? So, but I'm excited that the responsive classroom is now at CSCA. Also, I don't think it's a social emotional learning program, but it does help students connect. It's kind of hard to be rude to your neighbor after you've just sat next to each other in a circle and you just heard their dog died or something. At least there's that connection. But I don't know that it's an approved social emotional learning program in any way, but it's a good step in the right direction. So I appreciate all the work. Sounds fabulous. I just really look forward to hearing more about the tier 1 too at some point. Thank you.
I guess I wanted to just echo what Colleen said. I was just wondering if the responsive classroom does kind of tap into that tier 1 that we had so much talked about. I think we really were trying to emphasize and focus on that as well, as along with the Turbo Tiger and things like that.
Yeah, I have to be honest with you, even in the research that I've been doing this summer, I won't say the program, but one program, an SEL program that was recommended to me from a colleague in another district. And I actually took I just got my certificate, a 6-hour course for their training. And it was amazing how similar it was to responsive classroom. And so it's really, I think, the foundation of any good or productive SEL program is building trust. And it's building that trust between the peers, but as well as the students with the adults. And I think that's what responsive classroom does, by generating that connection first thing every single morning. The students know what the expectation is, and they know they're going to have that. And I think that's something positive. And again, I think implementing it also in our unified arts, I think that's really critical, because sometimes that's where some of the issues behaviorally occur. So I think, again, it has to be with the staff buy-in. So far, I've only seen positive feedback. We've been, feeding some information to the remainder of the staff, but I know everybody who's been on the committee, which is, I think there's 15 or 16 people, I think it's going to be a positive.
Yeah, and I think the posters that we've heard about, those are really interesting, and I'm hoping to see them at some point too, and hopefully when I'm in the school. And I think setting those expectations and hoping that all of the kids and the teachers and everyone knows the expectations. Something that I think we had also talked about at another meeting earlier were codes of conduct, and just kind of natural consequences. I think maybe that's something that we had talked about, and do the posters, or does anything, do teachers kind of talk about, with the students, like, if you, don't meet these expectations, X, Y, and Z happens, or, those sorts of things, like, I think it's really great that we all know what the expectations are, right? Like, you know, don't run in the hallway, don't do this, don't do that, but then, you know, if we're not all on the same page about then what happens when you break those rules, right? You know, you know, then, you know, it kind of falls on deaf ears.
Right, well, I think, and I know Dan had mentioned it, I think the first thing that we're all going to be doing is, we're going to be starting very slow this year. And part of that is, you know, not just teaching and telling the students what the expectations are, but we're going to be modeling them. And that's the key. So for instance,
Hopefully you're not running in the halls, right?
Exactly, yeah, only emergency maybe. But for instance, walking in the hallway, well, if a class is running down the hallway, you better believe every single teacher is going to know what the expectation of them to do, which is to walk back. Let's start from the beginning. And if they're late getting to recess, well, that might be the natural consequence. So I think that's where we need to start initially. We need to make sure that we're teaching them and modeling, and these are the expectations, and that there will be natural consequences.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Oh, no, I thought you were going to say more. No, and, you know, and part of that is, you know, again, you know, we've found, you know, over the past year that we do need to reteach some of these expectations, you know, so when you do come in, the posters will be around tomorrow, they'll be put up by the beginning of next week, but the way the language is written and the way that they're created, you know, are very kind of user-friendly, kid-friendly, you know, so when we teach it, and we'll have the visual, and they're colorful and bright, and we'll have the visual example, you know, for them as well as we're teaching and modeling these pieces. But the first four to 6 weeks is going to be that practice of these expectations, no matter where you are in the building, from the classroom to the building-wide pieces. And then from there come the natural consequences and otherwise if.
Right. And it's also important to have the same language.
Right.
And that's what we'll also be training and working with the teachers.
It'll be
that
consistent.
This is the consistent language.
Thank you. And thank you to the committee. It sounds like
Yeah,
that's a
they're
lot
working.
of people and a lot of work, and this is all good things that are happening.
Yes.
One atmosphere in both the schools, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. I've been sitting here thinking about ways to get excitement with the students and to how to get them to rally behind it too. And I'm wondering if something like a big puzzle piece poster board where every time someone does really, like classroom emphasizes one of those posters or something, they put a puzzle piece up and there's like 300 puzzle pieces or something. And then when the school achieves their goal, because I was thinking about it, do we do it at a class level or a grade level, but it really should be the whole school. And then if they do that, they all get something together collectively to celebrate or something like that too. I'm just, little kids like rewards and natural consequences, I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
But having the
It's the
carrot and the,
positive, yeah.
that to me just seems like that might be a really fun way to create like the Blue Jay thing. I've only been in the Blue Jays until this year I'll be a Wolf, but Blue Jay thing has always been, man, when someone comes home with a Blue Jay ticket, that's a big deal, and we hear about that night. And I'm wondering if somehow you can parlay that as a class or grade or school objective level.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the things that we're going to be doing is, we had the Wolf Paws, and those would happen on a weekly basis. We're changing that system so that that can happen on a daily basis by the classroom teachers within the classroom. So students will be able to go home that day and say, Mom, Dad, I got a Wolf Paw. And then we have other certificates that we're going to award to students on a monthly basis, and those will be celebrated at our monthly assemblies. So,
And that's, I like that a lot.
and it'll
It's
be
like student specific. I'm talking like the
Like
whole, everybody
like
does
a
something
effort,
together.
yeah, invested in
Well,
the celebration.
Well, we'll also be announcing at our monthly assemblies where our successes. You know, these are the things that we've been practicing or modeling, and how is our success rate in it?
Yeah. Okay. And then the only other thing I had, as I was thinking about that, I also wonder how forthcoming a child's going to be on a really bad day, or if a dog dies or something like that. So there's going to have to be some way to, that trust to do that, I think is going to take a while, I guess. You're going to hear a lot of positives, but somehow teaching kids to share those difficult things, that to me is probably where the bigger mountain to climb is, honestly. And that's where you start walking in other's shoes, and where in my mind, a lot of the growth happens. But I don't think that's going to be a spontaneous September thing by any means.
No, it may not.
Probably won't be.
And
Yeah.
again, it's a gradual process.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. And you know, the individuals who are shyer, it may take a little bit longer. But again, it's building that trust and understanding that, you know what, this is a safe environment for
Right.
me to share these types of things.
Yep.
And that I'll get the proper response from my peers.
Okay. What else good? All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have the FY25 budget discussion, the first one of the year up. All right.
Yes, I'm going to ask if you take one, Tracy, and pass it. This is probably, I think, the earliest we've had round one kind of on paper. And I'd like to thank Kelly for that, and Dan and Tricia for all their efforts.
Thank you.
And what I would ask, I'm going to walk you through it kind of, is don't be that worried about the dollar amount yet, because many of those things will still need to be ironed out. But the description is what we're really looking for. So this will be one of what we typically have is 4 rounds. In the upcoming months, we'll see this again, and if need be, more than 4 rounds. But at the first block is what we call our academic block. In our RMS, you'll see that we have a mentor program at both schools. That is to continue to enhance our mentor program to support the young teachers that we are hiring, or simply those teachers who are new to the district. The second item is the math program. Our math program that we instituted about 7 years ago? 8 years ago, is up for renewal. We've been, as you know, last year did a study committee on that. We'll be coming forward with kind of recommendations on that, and those are the placeholders for whichever math program is selected. We absolutely plan to do something with SEL. We have no idea of the cost yet. We have seen this number, 11.5, 23,000 between the two buildings on the low end, to up to $100,000. So that's why I say, please don't get locked into approved for this year. We imagine that's going to need to stay in the budget based on enrollment trends. So that will automatically come in and kind of stay with us throughout the whole process. He's asked for, and we've done some research with lunch and recess assistance. A lot of schools are now moving towards this because they're seeing this unstructured time as one of the most difficult times for their students. And as a result, having extra hands and eyes has really gone well. It is a very part-time position, coming in really just for the recess piece. One of the pieces that I learned about from talking to another superintendent that has this program is it's almost been a training ground, and they've been able to acquire some paras and other people as they've come in and gotten to know the building. And for some of our families, it could be ideal for parents who might consider coming on board in the long term as well. Next, we have a shared position, and this would be shared across the SAU, and it's a maintenance trades position. We're seeing the cost of what I'll call small maintenance items. A new electrical outlet is needed. We're doing the smart boards, so we're fortunate. We have somebody who's qualified for that, but we're also seeing it in terms of needing to make adjustments to a toilet. To pay the rates that we're paying for these services, Lance thinks that we should definitely get this out there and discuss a maintenance trades position that would be shared between the 6 schools that could address many of these items that are very costly now, because plumbers and electricians, just like you see at your house, don't show up without a minimum fee. And then after that, so he'll do some further research to get us what we're spending, to make sure that there is a cost benefit to that. At CSDA, Tricia is asking for a reading and writing specialist / case manager to do a number of services. She's looking at her librarian going from 0.6 to 1.0. As we've found, that if we can move a position to full-time, it's less likely that position is going to go someplace else. We encountered this when we had music and art part-time. We were at like a training ground. It's been a couple of years, and then moved to a full-time position. So we want to examine this. She's looking at her secretary going from 4 days to 5 days, which the major cost of that money you see there is the benefits eligible because it's New Hampshire retirement and those type of benefits. One other piece that we're looking at and going to be discussing with the Hollis District as well, we added a social worker to the high school, middle school last year, and that has paid very strong dividends. So we are looking to potentially job share a social worker between Brookline and Hollis to get that up and running and provide more supports, but at the same time, getting it in the budget and then seeing what the usage is. We believe there'll be, just as we learned at the co-op, more than enough usage. It's just a matter of then developing it into a full-time position down the road. And you see Trish's share of the shared maintenance trade position. So in Hollis Co-op, that is divvied out by percentage of use that we believe. I know that the co-op portion for that is about $23,000 per school, and it's based on the square footage and expectation of work. New computer equipment, there's not a lot there. As you know, during the pandemic, we did a wealth of computer upgrades, and we have used our REAP money very effectively. The REAP funds are what's paying for the smart boards and reconfiguration at CSDA. For those of you who may not remember what REAP is, it's a rural education grant that we're entitled to. There's no guarantee that it's funded every year, but we usually find out early spring or fall, somewhere in that time frame, of what will be allocated. There is some replacement equipment, Chromebooks for staff at RMMS. We have Windows laptops for certain staff. We are getting end of life for iPads at kindergarten, Dan? iPads are at the kindergarten level. And then we need monitors for the office staff, and those are camera monitors, and they're at the end of their life. At CSDA, it's Chromebooks for staff. The senior secretary is scheduled for a new laptop, and again, monitors for the end of life there.
Why are the laptops why is a Chromebook laptop twice the Chromebook? Aren't they both laptops? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, so a Chrome laptop has every feature that a laptop has, other than the operating system. So it's higher end in that it's like a tablet that flips over, it's touch screen. So the way the teachers utilize the flat panels, that device is much more functional than a laptop. Laptop prices have gone up, and so this actually becomes more functional for less than a laptop. And then, so it's a very different Chromebook than what a student Chromebook would look like.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do these expire too? Because I know Chromebooks truly
Yeah, they do
expire. Yeah.
But what we now know is that we, before purchasing, are looking at the end of life of the model before we purchase.
Okay.
And so we're looking at a 4-year replacement cycle, which will be
Okay.
before they age out anyway.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Can I just ask, just quick, and we don't need to answer it today, but what the iPads are used for in kindergarten? Just iPads in kindergarten, I don't know.
So there's a list of, there's a variety of apps that the students use during their center time. And each teacher has about 5, so we've got 20 in there right now. So each of the 4 had 5, and students will use that during one of their center times.
Like for extra math or
Yeah,
enrichment?
They do they'll do for Echelon, they'll do some various
okay.
apps related to the curriculum.
So it's not every child having one, it's
They don't
just
each have
a
one.
few in
There's just
each
it's a
classroom?
center.
Gotcha,
Yeah, yeah.
gotcha. Okay, thank you. Thanks for reminding me. I should have known that.
Shared services software, As you'll see again, these costs are split between the two buildings as we try to allocate cost by facility. There's a cable tester at $500 and IT managed services. The managed services are just really part of our security, and it's an increase. And after a couple of the districts and municipalities in New Hampshire getting hacked, our IT department is really looking at different ways to ensure that our data is safe. Safety compliance issues, we're at phase 1 of rugs for the students. The security camera, we have an area on the exterior of the building that we'd like to add more coverage to, and one for the gym. The radio system, SAU-wide, you see that for both CSDA and RMMS. That is something we are actually in the process, this will be the second time we've tried for a grant for that. I don't know if it'll make it through the budget at this point, but we wanted to keep it there and make you aware in case the grant did come through. And what this would do is give automatic communication from buildings in Brookline to buildings in Hollis, because during a true emergency, cell phone use spikes and the system comes down. So it's just something we're looking at. Kelly has worked with the town emergency response, and this is something both Hollis and Brookline sit on that, the fire systems, the police folks, and they all support it. It's just trying to see if we can find the right grant. Last year, we asked for this for the state grant, and they went more what I would call entryway work, which, as you know, we've done that for most of our buildings already. CSDA, we have phase 3 of the door replacements. Trish talked about 2 of those no doors. We have playground safety upgrades, which I believe we'll try to make it through the budget, because we had our PTO go out and do $50,000 worth of fundraising. So they've already raised 2/3 of the playground work, and if there was room in this year's budget, we'd see if we could expedite that quicker. We have panic burglar alarm replacement, because they are very old and not handicapped accessible. Not all of them are handicapped accessible. We have the kitchen area roof replacement. We have classroom floorings, and the rooms are listed right there. We're in the final phase of cafeteria tables. We have some trim replacement outside rooms 1 and 2, and some tree removal out back near the playground as some of those pine trees continue to get big. We'd like to get some of the limbs and maybe a couple removals. We have the main office flooring replacement. It's at the end of life at CSDA. We have the rain basin repair. We are working through special ed to create some programming to better service our students, and this money would be creating the office and step program spaces for those students. Gym wall mats and gym lights. For warrant articles, obviously we will arrive at an operating budget. We had discussions last year, and I think it would be good at some point in the foreseeable future to talk a little bit about our rate of pay for paraprofessionals, which is our BESER staff, because we continue to struggle with the rates that are being offered in a number of different avenues for staff. We're looking at ballpark figures for SAU assessment. We are looking at having a discussion about bond infrastructure and energy, because we have the, really one of the biggest things would be the boiler at CSDA, which would be approximately half of that cost. So Lance will be doing some work with that. Our regular maintenance trust piece. The next one is an IT trust, as Gina alluded to. We are on a 4-year cycle for computer replacement. We'd like to do that through a maintenance trust. We'd like to establish a trust that's dedicated to the purchase of computers and upgrading of IT equipment. This if passed and adopted on a yearly basis, will alleviate what I call a tax spike, because if we wait till the equipment needs to be replaced, we'll see a much larger spike. And Kelly has done a really nice job about getting on this type of, I'll call maintenance schedule, even though it's computers. And then the special ed trust, which we will have the current balance in the coming months. She did provide you with the opening balance of our maintenance trust. We had $175,000 for the warrant. Phone system is at the end of life. Special ed reno space and expansion. The old main entrance reno to office space. Grade 3 cabinets and sinks. And air handlers, heat pumps, looking at 2 of those. And again, this is all very, very early, but it really helps us to get out there and start talking about that and moving forward. And you'll see the last thing is at CSDA, we will have purchased all the flat panels, so they will have one in every classroom, and we'd like to repeat that and do that for RMMS, because when you combine the Chromebook laptop with the flat panel, you have really seamless teaching strategies via the devices. And that's it for round one. And again, I do want to thank Lauren, Dan, Tricia, Donna, Kelly, Gina, and everybody that I might have forgotten for all their work to get to round one. And we'll start doing our job, and probably next month we'll kind of look for a sense of the board of what you would like to make your priorities, and then that's kind of the way we'll start moving. Are there any questions at this early date?
I just had a quick question. Oh,
No, it looked like Kelly was going, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
okay, sorry. The playground safety upgrades that's going to be combined with the $50,000 donation, is that donation now going to upgrades rather than actual new equipment, or?
No,
is it-
it's
okay.
renovating
Just
all
all of it,
all
like
new.
additions and okay, great,
Yes.
awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
In the warrant article section, I had 2 questions. One was regarding VESA and the rate of pay for support staff. Again, specifically concerned about paras.
Yep.
Are we only able to look at the rate of pay? Are we able to look at the availability of benefits?
So, that is something, so truly, it's not a negotiation here. We have a few more years on the contract. And when we looked to add benefits to the position in Hollis, we're talking $700,000. It's just not feasible. However, based on student needs, some students do require a longer support throughout the day, which will allow some positions, one at a time, to become eligible for benefits just based on the needs of the student and then the longer day. So not through negotiations, but if you recall last year, when we discussed the use of the ESSER funds to provide the longevity bonus for our support staff, we did not have the luxury of continuing that conversation into looking at the salary table alone. We did in our other districts, but we promised when we didn't have a teacher's contract competing on the warrant, we would do that. So I think the next step is, what can we do just to look at that table alone to get us through to the next negotiation cycle with VESA?
And then the other question I had about the warrant article was just in terms of the energy and bond infrastructure. I know I've asked about this before, and I don't recall the answer, so I apologize, but I would love for the Brookline School District to be able to do something with energy efficiency akin to what the Hollis School District did. And I know that Hollis has an energy committee for its town, and that there was a partnership with that, but I wonder, if maybe the Hollis Energy Committee would be willing to talk with us or make a presentation to the board or advise us on grants or something. Because I think it's short-sighted for us to look at replacing roofs and replacing boilers when we could be, wrapping the buildings and adding solar panels.
I can schedule the consultant that we use for this project, that's their focus is energy efficiency, to come in and do a presentation to the board and kind of identify, because when he worked on this project in the classrooms upstairs, it was more of a global assessment of our buildings. So he would be able to come in, make a presentation to you and kind of prioritize, and then you would be able to kind of determine what level of comfort there is for not only what equipment you'd like, but what amount of bonds you'd like to look at.
There's a company called EEI. which
Yes, it was EEI.
EEI worked with the town.
Yeah.
They worked with the school at one point, I think.
Yes.
And they were able to, that's who did the recommendations for the panels, the solar panels at town. And they can do assessments and things like that.
And then did Hollis have a lot of grant money for the?
No.
Was it mostly bond?
They bonded, I would say, 4 different bonds over multiple years to the tune of probably somewhere between 12 to 15 million.
And are they pretty neutral right now?
Um,
Close to neutral in terms of like electricity or?
I think we're getting there, because like this phase is a new kitchen facility, new bathrooms, but we have seen savings in our energy usage, but the rate charges have changed. Because the energy companies respond to everything that you do as well. But I know we just put a new, installed a couple weeks ago, a new air handler on the roof at Hughes, which is one of the massive units that does, it's much more efficient. We took off a 35-year-old machine. So just that in itself. So I just can't, my consultant's name escapes me, but I will definitely, thank you, Mike Davies, yep. And we will ask Mike to come and do a presentation of his work and what he sees as good, and then we can figure out where to go.
Yeah, and just as background, we had Mike come out and had a very comprehensive review, and I kind of smiled when I saw this on here because I was going to make a comment. Interest rates are kind of obnoxious right now. They are. And at the time, we had a full system with improved air handling, improved LED, boiler, all of the efficiency stuff, and it got voted down. So that was at the time when the rates were a quarter of what they probably are now. So I just want to share that. I almost was going to suggest that we don't pursue that this year because of how bad the interest rates are, in my opinion, unless we get some kind of really phenomenal kickback grant type thing, because it's just, to me, bonding right now at this rate would be kind of a handcuff until we start seeing a lowering of interest rates, in my opinion. We could do the assessments and everything, but I'm just not sure that this is the year to move that forward personally. I guess my other question too is with respect to the IT trust, we have a annualized cycle right now, so I'm curious why we want to come off of that plan and do a trust, because it just...
So it's the technology department was planning on coming out and kind of doing a good review on that.
Okay.
And what happened was we were able, SAU-wide, to utilize grant funds to purchase 1,600 Chromebooks at once. So that means 1,600 Chromebooks will hit end of life in FY26.
Okay.
So we can't just...
1,600 for our district alone, or is that
Across the
SAU?
entire
It's SAU.
but,
Okay, yep.
But about 500 in this
Okay,
district. So
yep.
to then purchase 500 in 1 year makes a huge spike in the budget, and then they'll all age out later. And
At
so
the same
it's just a
cycle.
recurring
Yep.